Hello and welcome back to the 61st episode of the Oligarchy Disruptor podcast with your host, Bennett Leon. And of course, we have Ashley Downing with us as well.
Hello.
All right, guys. Ooh, I love your background, Ash.
Oh, thanks.
See that? All right, cool. So today we're going to talk about a really interesting topic, which is basically where Ashley and I think it should go from here. And where we've been hearing calls on the Twitter sphere, across social media, across YouTube, you name it, of people calling for and wanting to get out and protest. But what we're seeing is like people protesting and going out and stuff, but they're protesting the wrong things. They're protesting to go get a haircut and to go
get those nails done.
Random shit. But at the same time, when your government is literally transferring so many trillions of dollars of wealth away from you and to the 1% and to the oligarchy, goals. You guys, good job, guys. But whatever. So let's jump right into the topic.
Priorities.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. We have a few videos we also want to show you guys. We are going to show you a really interesting video of this. Well, we're going to show you the two most recent big changes in protesting that have happened in recent times, which is for the French, the Yellow Vest movement. So we're going to talk about them first. We're going to show a couple clips of them. One of the videos is one of my favorite from the entire movement, which is in the beginning of the movement, the farmers were throwing shit like manure at these government buildings, and it's just really powerful imagery, and to see these like people with yellow vests on in support of their cause, I thought it was really powerful. We're also going to we're going to discuss a video with the entire overview of the Yellow Vest movement, and then later on we're going to talk about a video which is the American side of that, the most recent time that Americans have actually gotten out when they were had enough with the government and their shit, to actually do something and go out and do that. So that was the Occupy Wall Street movement, as some of you may remember, or maybe have been involved in it. And if you were, we would love to talk to you. So, so let's go ahead and jump into the first video.
Yes, let's.
Alrighty, so here we are, my favorites, and Ashley's favorite as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so here you're going to see, like I said, the French people, these protesters, including farmers early on in the movement. What they were protesting is the raise in taxes for fuel. So they were upset that their cost of living has kind of gone up. And this is like, a lot of you guys would just see that and not think like anything of it, right? Like Americans are just like, okay, you're just going to raise my taxes, okay. Like they always take that all the time. But I guess the French people don't take everything, and you're going to see a case in point right here, with these farmers literally spewing manure all over these government buildings. So really, really powerful stuff. So let's go ahead and watch Ashley's favorite video.
Oh my goodness.
Americans need to learn from them.
Oh my.
So what you see here is a window that's open in the building, and this dude is going to start aiming for it, shooting inside of the building to make it 10 times worse, which I'm all for. Kudos, guy.
It literally pushes the window open. Did you see that?
really, really powerful stuff, you know, guys. Like, Americans, for the most part, A, don't know about this stuff, that this happened, or B, have no idea that this is even possible to do to your government. Like, I feel like most Americans would never even fathom, like, throwing manure at, like, government buildings and stuff. But this is just, like, the French people just sticking true to how they were, like, the French Revolution. They started, like, they're the OG ones, you know, for, like, democracy. And they were not taking shit from the monarchy back then, from King Louis. So they stepped true to themselves, and they're getting the results now when they don't let go. But Americans, if you want to compare us, early on we also had a very influential revolution that also affected rippled across the world. Um, but where have we gone now? The American people have not really protested, like I said, since probably the biggest one is the Occupy Wall Street movement. So let's go ahead and jump into the next video. I think that would be very valuable to watch. So once again, this is like the overall um, kind of overview of the Yellow Vest movement, why they're out, why they're doing it, kind of like a timeline and a snapshot of a really good snapshot of everything. But any comments on anything before I start?
Oh, of course. um, yeah, I am all for the protest, wanting to get government to listen, and I think that that's definitely what we need now. But persecute me if you think I'm wrong, but no way is it okay to throw manure, shit, actual literal shit at a government building. I don't think that's a good idea. And the reason why I say that is because think about it. The people who we are fighting for are the very people who are going to be cleaning that up. You really think it's going to be the people who actually work in that building that we are trying to protest against? No, definitely not. Um, I don't know. I think that it's just like, plus it's so immature, and I don't know. I'm not for it. Peaceful protests are better, not smelly ones.
I personally think that the French did an amazing job here. I think they proved their point. I think the imagery is super powerful. I know I mentioned and I've used that adjective a few times to describe that video, but that's the kind of impression it leaves on me, because you really don't see that like every day, like even every other like year or 10 years or anything like that. Like this that's like a really big, like rude insult, like real hatred for your government, and I think that that message comes across very well across like the video.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe for this specific protest, it was a little bit more um, powerful because, or not. I think it was possibly powerful because this tax did really affect farmers, so that was different. I think that um, I think it's dangerous to promote something like this. I don't want to say that I think it's a good idea to be uh, that aggressive with trying to get people to listen, because I just think it's nasty. They're not going to listen from tactics like that. Maybe it worked there in a different sense because I don't know, but I just don't think that that would work here. And I think that it would make some people turn against a movement.
I think you're right about some people possibly turning away, but at the same time, I feel like real like actual like revolution style change, like fundamental like upheaval of the government and like the way it works and stuff, it requires a certain amount of violence. Like, I know it sounds crazy to say I'm not promoting violence out here, but I think
That's sort of what
I
it sounds like, bro.
I'm just saying that that's what it has taken up until now. If you look retrospectively at all the like revolutions that have kind of transpired and all like those types of fundamental changes in government like I speak of, they only happen, yes, the people are out and about, like it starts from the bottom up. That part remains true, but there's also a level of violence that's involved. When the Cuban uprising against Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, um, our own uprising against the monarchies or the monarchy in the United or in England, King George,
Yeah,
over and
but
over
I
again.
mean,
It requires this.
yeah, but what you're talking about is, I guess, I mean, I don't think that us taking on the political establishment in the United States is very comparable to trying to overcome Fidel Castro. I mean, I think that it's really horrible what's going on here, and I think that it's going to take a lot of change. But I think that it's necessarily it needs to turn violent? No, I don't think that. I think violence is um, I don't know. I think the Americans like to turn to violence so often that it would be nice to try to fight people who believe in. Why are you giving me that look? Look at how many wars we have been in that are completely unjustified. Look at the militarization of our law enforcement. I mean, it's just crazy. It would be nice to actually fight these people who believe so much in violence with words, with our constitution, with legality, with facts,
The reason why I
not
made
shit.
that the reason why I made that face is because you said that Americans like to resort to violence. I mean, and you're probably right with like mass shootings and stuff like that. Um,
No, no, I
but
just mean like the establishment in general. Like, I feel that people enjoy the revenge tactic, and I think that we would be coming off that way if we were to resort to some type of political violence.
I mean, I don't think like the overall movement should be violent. I mean, yeah, I don't think it should be that way. Like, I fundamentally think like, and I stick true to what I said. Like, I only told you what has worked. I didn't
Yeah.
say I want you guys to do this or I think you should do this. I said this is what works. So I think we should at least take that into consideration. Like, we are the truth tellers. We're the ones that are supposed to tell everybody what the government doesn't want them to know, or what the media doesn't want to tell them. And this is
Yeah.
part of that. I feel like this is one of those harder pills to swallow. And like, as much as we want to be 100% peaceful, there's also a level of violence that's involved. In Iran, they also they took away their Shah, the Shah that was placed there by the CIA, the American-backed CIA. For He reigned there for what, like 30 years, 40 years with an iron fist, created the Iran that we know now. That's basically destitute until Khomeini, Ayatollah
Yeah.
Khomeini came into power and said "F that," and we're gonna take them over, and they staged a coup. And that's also what happened in Cuba, like I mentioned earlier. There's a level of violence, whether or not anyone wants to admit it, whether or not you want to admit it. It's just present. The Baltimore protests, Occupy Wall Street,
Yeah, but
all of us,
even
we
with
see it.
those, the protesters were not the first to be violent. They were there just protesting, and it was the other side that became violent. So I'm just saying the French coming off as, and not like, if anybody in France is listening, like, I get, like, it worked. Kudos to you guys, seriously. But I'm just saying, for this specific thing, that we want to push for, this exit from the Democratic Party on grounds of corruption and motivation purely from the establishment. I don't think it needs to start or be talked about being violent at all right now. I think that if it gets to that point, it's going to be because it's from the other side. I don't see it coming from us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you do not have any point at all. I think you're 100% wrong. I'm kidding. So let's go. Let's go and
Ha
talk about the next video. So let me share my screen with you guys. Aren't you guys so privileged? Okay, cool. So once again, this is that video that talks about the overview of the entire yellow vest movement in France. So let's just watch it and then we'll comment as we go.
One of the world's oldest democracies is engulfed by rage. Thousands of protesters from every corner of the country flooded the streets of Paris for the fourth weekend in a row.
So like old people out, young people, everybody's out.
We witnessed the unrest transform the city.
Look at that imagery. Revolution, it said right there.
The Gilets Jaunes, or Yellow Vest movement, started last month when working class people from the countryside rose up in response to a fuel tax increase. President Emmanuel Macron announced to repeal the tax. But it's too late. The protests have already morphed into a broader rebellion, now taking aim at him.
So what I think is very notable and comparative to what's going on now is that what they went through, it kind of started off with the gas tax and protesting that, but it also went on and morphed into a whole new movement and consolidated all of these things that they were pissed about and angry about with the government for. So that's what kind of they just explained to you, but in other words, that's basically what happened. So let's go ahead and resume the video.
Totalitaire, c'est totalitaire, ça pique totalitaire.
Most of the people we met yesterday came in.
I like to call this girl Ashley. Yeah, you'll see why.
Peace.
You'll see why.
Peace.
Oh, vous êtes pas cool.
Who are these for?
It's a what is?
For who?
I buy it for the police.
Why?
Because I'm not here for fight. I'm here for justice, and this is for justice.
Yes, girl. Yes.
Stones, torching cars, smashing windows. At least 2,000 were arrested nationwide. On the morning of the protest, Paris felt like it was on lockdown. Monuments, shops, and subways were shut. At least 8,000 police and security officers were deployed. We traveled around the city to hear from different groups of protesters. We met some of those who joined more recently, like students, environmentalists, and union organizers.
I love this scene because this just screams like French culture to me, you know. And they're like,
Yeah, definitely.
This just screams French to me. I don't know. So I thought this was really cool about the video too.
They were all united in their opposition to the government, but leaderless and without clear demands.
Au moment où les premières manifestations ont eu lieu, le truc c'est que moi j'y étais pas. Ce qu'on nous donne dans les médias, ce sont une vision des choses. Ils aiment bien nous montrer par exemple des gens antifascistes, ils aiment bien nous dire que c'est rattrapé par l'extrême droite. Parce que je trouve que maintenant c'est un mouvement qui amène une convergence des luttes.
Un mois à manifester pour essayer de dire que ça ne va pas, que le pouvoir d'achat est en baisse. Donc voilà, on vient apporter à notre cher président les cotons-tiges pour
That was so funny.
Yeah.
It's not certain who Macron should be listening to and negotiating with. As the day wore on, the protests were co-opted by more extreme rioters. Police confronted them with tear gas and stun grenades. While demonstrations may dissipate in the coming weeks, the shared anger of the protesters will remain. Where that anger will lead France and how all of this will end is uncertain.
So let's discuss that video. So Ashley, your thoughts initially?
Awesome. I liked it. I think that it's really great how so many people, really working class people, were really able to come together with no concrete leader and just kind of say, we have this this in common, the fact that we don't agree with the decisions that our government's been making because they're not for us. And they mobilized so quickly and without a concrete leader. It's just really incredible. It says, honestly, it also says a lot about social media, which is really something nowadays.
Really powerful.
Definitely. But I really enjoyed it. And like you also paused to mention, the diversity in age is really influential, honestly. I think that that's something that a lot of people here feel with this whole Bernie revolution, whatever progressive movement. It's a millennial thing. And I think that soon we will prove that it's not just a millennial thing.
Absolutely not. This is a multidiversal. This divides every. There's no division, and this affects everybody. Unless
Absolutely.
you're the 1%, unless you're one of the oligarchy, this is affecting you. Which is so. And so, in other words, most people. Okay, so of course, I'll give my kind of gist on that video as well. I am totally for that. I feel like, once again, that this is the movement that we should kind of be emulating, our own movement as well, from like the Occupy Wall Street. What I think is also notable from that video, that I haven't really talked about, is that I noted that the police were also kind of using stop and frisk tactics. They were looking through those two guys' bags to look for protective gear in case they were going to go protest. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well. And that one lady, which is what I forgot to mention earlier, she had mentioned that those movements, all of their struggles with the government, converged into one movement.